Here in Round Rock, Texas, it's time for the men's championship game at USA Ultimate's 2019 College National Championships. The top two seeds have risen to the top of the division at Nationals. Brown University's Brownie in motion, University of North Carolina dark side, ready to meet with everything at stake. Yesterday in the semis, identical 15-10 wins over Colorado and Cal Poly, respectively. This is a game we've been looking forward to. We hope we get it. We've got it. And we welcome you in. Evan Lepler alongside Ian Toner. Megan Tormey is coming up from down on the sideline. North Carolina in the semis for the 6th year in a row at Nationals, going for their 3rd championship in the last 5 years. Ian, they have a chance to be an all-time team. Brown, though, is led by perhaps an all-time duo in Mac Hecht and John Randolph.
Evan, I think that experience means something and is going to make a difference in this game. The pressure that Walker Matthews, Matt Guccio-Hannes, Elijah Long have all experienced before, Mac Hecht and John Randolph haven't had this national championship pressure quite before in their careers.
That's true, but they did look pretty good in the semifinals yesterday against Colorado. They fell behind 4-2 and then just dominated the rest of the way. There is championship history in the Brown program. 2000 and 2005, they've had 3 Callahan Award winners in the past. A lot of people thought Mac Hecht should have won the Callahan this year. He was edged out by North Carolina's Matt Guccio-Hannes. But Hecht, along with Randolph, are the 2 superstars to watch for Brown.
Well, as you take a look at this string of highlights, Mac Hecht is establishing himself as a premier distributor in the game, knows how to use the wind to his advantage, put the right amount of touch on his throws, and you'll see John Randolph was his favorite target yesterday.
12-34, a familiar connection. For North Carolina, the 2 championships behind Jonathan Nethercutt in 2015. Let's be honest, this team has been loaded, keeping the pipeline full of triangle area talent. And this year, Matt Guccio-Hannes tries to do what Nethercutt did in 2015, win the Callahan and the college title.
The important thing to focus on here, Matt Guccio-Hannes did not start this season on the defensive line. He started on the offense, partway through the regular season, transferred over to the defensive line. And last night, that quarterbacking, that hucking ability made the difference in a number of important breaks for their victory over Cal Poly Slow.
Nethercutt's flick 4 years ago was the style and throw. This year, Guccio-Hannes with the backhand, helping Carolina get back to the finals. In the regular season, these 2 teams met twice. They split those 2 meetings. The rubber match with a championship at stake. Brown and UNC coming up next. The 2019 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and apparel since 2007. Visit Spin on the web at spinultimate.com. By Discraft, now featuring a newly updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Discraft, home of the UltraStar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Visit discraft.com. We are fired up for this men's final. Starting lineup for Brown University features Hecht, Lou, Taruno, with Randolph, Dick, Ruschmeyer, Bailey, and Lassiter. The handlers for the Brown alums, Sam Lehman, Jake Smart, also on the Brown coaching staff. UNC has more than 5 coaches. We list 5. David Allison, the head coach. Searles, Bose, Williams, the speedy Davis, who was so good last night against Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. McDonald, Long, Hughes, and Marcus. The handlers down on the field. Megan Tormey's got another weather update for us. Megan?
Thanks so much, Evan. Like most of the tournament, we are in a level 1 heat advisory, and that simply means that we take an extra hydration timeout per half. So when the first team scores 4, when the first team scores 12, we're taking an extra 3 minutes on top of the minute and a half that is typically between points. The only saving grace to all this heat is the cooling wind, but that certainly makes conditions tough for players. UNC did not have to play in this wind in last night's semifinal. Of course, they faced it all tournament long, but they had a much smoother condition last night than they do today.
That's right, Megan. Having been down there on the sidelines for the previous semifinal, you can see just how difficult it's going to be for those throwers going upwind. And as you mentioned last night, those calmer conditions during UNC's semifinal, giving them a little bit of a reprieve compared to what they faced in the quarters and pool play earlier in the tournament.
North Carolina's going to start on defense. Dark side likes to wear the dark jerseys, but they're in the light whites for the final. Mark Rovner, Walker Matthews, Sam Lee, Matt Gushohannes, Suraj Madaraju, Ryan Humphrey, and Seth Lee, the 7 on the line for North Carolina. UNC's been here many times before. Brown has not been here since 2005 when they beat Colorado in a Universe Point Classic. Might we be that lucky to see back-to-back Universe Finals? University of California, San Diego edging Dartmouth earlier today. Here's John Randolph, the sensational sophomore from Seattle. Back to Hecht. Gushohannes is on Hecht, the first point of the game. It's Walker Matthews chasing John Randolph. One thing about UNC, Ian, they have a bunch of different defenders that they'll feel confident throwing at Brown's top players.
A real just army of defenders that they can rotate through. You mentioned we see Gushohannes starting here on Hecht. We see Matthews on Randolph. I wouldn't be surprised to see Elijah Long cross over and rotate in there.
Dengler, Hecht, Monforti, Carey, Conrad, the observers, and it's Randolph picking up where he left off. John scored 10 goals yesterday. Even he was surprised by that number when he was told about it after the game. Turnover free opening point, and it's Hecht to Randolph.
Nothing too crazy here, something we saw quite a bit of yesterday. Mac absolutely loves his high release break backhand. And for a team that relies so much on triangle, dominator, front of the stack, handler, heavy offense in the red zone, that's a real asset to be able to use so frequently.
These are unbelievable numbers.
Hecht and Randolph, one of the most potent offensive duos in the division this weekend.
And I might take it a step further
and say they are the most potent.
No, I was going to say any weekend. College nationals through the last decade, pick a more potent duo than Hecht and Randolph. I mean, I think it's a conversation, but they're in it.
They're absolutely in it. Got to think back to who some of Nethercutt's partners in crime were catching those deep shots.
North Carolina. To be honest, we were watching them in warm-ups, and we saw them throw the disc away a little bit more often than we're used to.
Yeah, they were lined up out the back of their own end zone, trying to give themselves as much space as possible to practice those upwind sets and get that stack situated against the wind.
This was a downwind situation, and they give it away. Elijah Long discussing the situation with Brown's Ned Dick. Stall count coming in at 1.
Still coming in 1. You guys good?
Throw a little bit behind the target, but hung on to by Rushmeyer Bailey. This is Dylan Villeneuve, who played really well yesterday. How about that break throw? Dick up the line, Brown breaks. Solomon Rushmeyer-Bailey gives Brownie in Motion an early 2-0 lead over the defending champions.
All right, everybody, we got a TV timeout. Gonna get a little timeout.
Hey, water!
Brownie in Motion led by this dynamic duo, Hecht and Randolph. And yesterday against Colorado, John Randolph scored 10 times.
Something we've seen surprisingly frequently in the last few semifinals, thanks to Julius Schmaltz and George Stubbs. But I want to go back to your conversation.
John Stubbs.
John Stubbs.
George was pretty good too.
I want to go back to your conversation about dynamic duos that we've seen over the course of the last decade. If we're setting the cutoff there, I would be remiss not to mention Tyler DiGirolamo and Alex Thorne of Pittsburgh.
Goodness, Villeneuve nearly hunting that D, but Walker Matthews able to get there.
And Cole Sullivan and Brody Smith of Florida. You know, Chris Gibson was involved in that trio as well, but more often than not, Cole and Brody were doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Sure.
On that championship team.
Gotta say, this has a little bit of a feel like a universe point offensive line for North Carolina. They're down 2-0. They're going into the win. Got Gusho Hannes out there with Alex Davis, Elijah Long, Thomas Williams, Liam Searles-Bowes, Honor Junks, and the turnover gives Brown a chance to take a 3-0 lead. Griffin Ko resets for Rushmeyer-Bailey, and here's Dick. Travel called on Randolph. It's Hecht, Adeyemi, and Ko, the stack in the end zone, now joined by Villeneuve. Randolph trying to work with the other handlers. He'll float it. Adeyemi wide open. The disc floating, though, trying to greatest it in. No, they rule him out. Almost an unbelievable play from Griffin Ko, jumping from inbounds, catching it, flipping it back to Adeyemi. This was oh so close.
So Adeyemi was the original intended receiver. And you see Ko dish it back, and Adeyemi's right cleat. Oh goodness, that's close. It looks like Adeyemi's right toes as Walker Matthews shoots deep.
And turns it over. North Carolina gives it away. There was a lot too. We need to break that replay down in super slow motion. We'll get a timeout and be able to do that. Hard to tell whether Ko had his foot on the ground when he still touched the disc. Here's a deep shot. Randolph running, but the disc too far ahead. Foul was called on the throw. Another look at this greatest attempt. Looked like Ko left from inbounds, but his foot's down there and the disc is still in his hands.
And on top of that, oh goodness, was Adeyemi's right cleat on the back line as well? Fantastic effort, but
greatests are so rare.
But unaffecting the play.
So the disc should stay back there.
Yeah.
We have, it did.
Pump! Unaffecting the play. It
Doesn't matter, he threw it away. Send the disc back.
Okay. Unaffecting the
There was
play.
a foul, it had nothing to do with the play. The disc will stay.
Defensive foul, unaffecting the play.
Might be the coolest play in Ultimate the Greatest. Leaping from inbounds, catching it, flipping it back in, and having one of your teammates catch it. This turnover is going to stand because the foul did not affect the play. Not sure what the most famous greatest of all time is in Ultimate. I think about the 2013 World Games where Austin native Michael Tank Natenberg had a couple greatest for Team USA down in Colombia. He was the greatest a couple years ago at Nationals, I believe in University of Wisconsin. Matthews uncorks. Deep shot denied. Elijah Long says he was fouled. The crowd disagrees. You can see for yourself.
Okay, got it. Okay, so observe ruling, no foul.
Play starts with a check. Starts with a check.
We're going to start with the check, okay?
Thought that was the right call. You agree?
I saw a fair amount of contact around the midsection as they were going up. Really tough to say if that was incidental. It'd be a hard argument to make for a definitive, conclusive foul.
Straight stack offense downfield for Brown. Straight stack has seen a bit of a resurgence. 4 or 5 years ago it was Nationals. At Nationals, mostly horizontal stack, side stack, but kind of the original offense in the sport, first pioneered by the Stanford college teams in the 70s and 80s. Made a renaissance.
Everything that's old is new again. The teams love the structure.
Randolph for Dick. Brown leads UNC 3-0.
Great effort here by this sophomore class of Brownie in motion, moving the disc down the field. Villeneuve, a nice easy break, continuing that down the backhand side. These high release backhands downwind have just been Brown's bread and butter. That and the triangle 3-person dominator offense in the red zone. The two things that have just absolutely crushed defenses, especially Mama Birds yesterday.
A bit ironic for Brown to use the triangle offense to take it to UNC. A goal and an assist for Ned Dick, the grad student from Concord, Massachusetts. Really started to make a name for himself at Nationals last year. When Brown came in, they were in that 4-5-9 pool with Pittsburgh and Washington, and they all kind of beat each other up in pool play. Brown ended up in a quarterfinal against Oregon Ego and fell just short. But this Brown team certainly came into Nationals this year with higher expectations. And I mean, the seasons that both these teams had, just 2 losses, only 1 against a team aside from this pair. Brown losing to Washington by 1. North Carolina losing to Carleton and Easterns by 2. They both had remarkable seasons.
And it's good to see that these teams have gotten the better of each other at different points in the season.
The thing is, the 2 meetings between these 2 teams in the regular season, neither was particularly close. By ultimate standards, they were both blowouts. UNC won 13-8 at Stanford. Brown won 15-10 at Easterns. I'll tell you what, this isn't meant to be a lob at you, but the experience factor hasn't been a factor so far. Maybe North Carolina uses their past adversity in games like this to rally back.
Happy to eat my words, happy to be proven wrong. I'll say this game is still young.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Elijah Long was primarily on the D-line in the past. You talked about in the open. Gush Johannes and Long kind of switching roles, but now Gush Johannes with his team down 3-0 back out there on offense. Searles Bowes high. Gush Johannes keeps it alive, and then Searles Bowes can't make the catch. Adeyemi may have gotten a piece of it, and he's now going deep. Villeneuve launches. Adeyemi chased by Gush Johannes, who comes up with the pick.
Villeneuve, the gunslinger, on this line to take the deep matchups and to stretch the field after the turnover. Those are the value pieces that he brings to this BMO defensive unit.
Long sending Searles Bowes. Dick chasing. Searles Bowes with an easy catch. And North Carolina is on the board.
Well, just when you thought Brown was on the doorstep of going up 4-0, who else but Matt Gush Johannes to save the day, earn the block on the goal line, and then a really nice downwind shot to finish this off. And we should expect to see Liam Searles Bowes continue to stretch the field and function like a hybrid in this offense as the game goes on.
Well, entering the 2018 season, the top two freshmen in the country were Liam Searles Bowes for North Carolina and John Randolph for Brown. Searles Bowes experienced some injuries last year. The coaches for UNC still feel like he was a really critical member of that championship team, but certainly has a larger, more pronounced role this year.
Yeah, his responsibilities have expanded. He's been able to gather more reps because he's been healthy. He hasn't had quite as many competitive commitments and demands, and excellent to see him being able to prioritize dark side offense.
Side stack with most everybody running across the field, and they now get it to Randolph in the middle. What are you seeing from this UNC defense here, Ian?
It's almost a three-person cup, but I'm seeing some poaches. It's almost like they want to force these guys all the way over to the flick sideline and get them trapped there.
There was a fire call from the sidelines, which means UNC switching from the zone to the man defense. Brown shredded that zone pretty good. It slowed them down, but they were pretty clean offensively.
Yeah, I probably described it incorrectly as a cup because those defenders who were a few yards away just beyond that 10-foot mark were not collapsing to stop any strike cuts or crashes.
Randolph marked by Gush Johannes to Hecht. Bluffs a hammer. Rushmeyer Bailey. Alex Liu is wide open in the middle of the field, but Brown being cautious in the red zone. That's a recipe for success. Randolph again. This kid was a superstar handler in high school. Now he's an unstoppable cutter. 4-1 Brown. Brownie in motion, sending shockwaves here in the men's final. North Carolina trailing 4-1 as we send it down to the field. Megan Tormey as a special guest.
Thanks so much, Evan. I'm joined by former Callahan Award winner Gabe Hernandez. Gabe, it was just last year that you were anointed the newest Callahan Award winner. What was it like standing up in front of the USA Ultimate backdrop and learning that you were joining a very elite group?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a shock. I wasn't really expecting it, but and then when it happened, it just like I don't really remember. Kind of blacked out. The team rushed me, and like it was a really cool moment with the team. So very grateful for that.
What kind of emotions are you experiencing now watching college teams duke it out here at Nationals? Of course, your team wasn't here last year, but it was still a very heroic fight for your team at regionals. You played with a torn ACL. You gave it your all. What's it like watching teams play now? Yeah,
it's kind of nostalgic that my college season is like over, or college career is over, but it's cool seeing some of the players I got to play against while I was in college since I'm only a year removed. So it's cool to be out here. I get nervous for some of the teams as they're playing on the big stage, but it's cool to see them do well, working hard, and just like living, the last moments of the season together. Yeah.
So Ian, Evan, and I all have ultimate careers, but none as illustrious as yours. It's so rare that we get to have opinions like yours on air. What are you seeing? What do you think both teams need to do moving forward?
Yeah, I think the wind is obviously a big factor. Some of the throws are a little low, some of those are a little high. I think if they just stick to their system and like work patiently, not trying to do too much, trying to huck big upwind hucks, work the system, trust each other to get open, even if it takes a while to do that, because both teams are playing great defense, I think is ultimately going to be what's going to separate the winner from the loser.
Well, sage advice from a very seasoned player. Hopefully someone passes it along to UNC. Back to you, Evan.
Great stuff, Megan. Barely recognized Gabe Hernandez without the Stanford bloodthirsty war paint and red streaks through his hair that he wore as a competitor in the past. He played for Johns Hopkins this year, had a good season.
I wonder if his Johns Hopkins teammates would have appreciated him dyeing his hair as he competed with them in the regular season and series.
By the way, Ian, you're humble enough to not bristle at Megan's comment, but you've got a couple gold medals playing in the club division in the U24 World Championship, so you've got a pretty illustrious career of your own with some interesting perspective to share.
To be fair, I did only qualify for the college championships once and was never anywhere near being a Callahan Award nominee, but I appreciate that.
North Carolina trailing 4-1. Scuber, long to Searles, pose!
Talk about a calculated risk there. After a lot of patience, working this disc, lots of handler give-goes, gaining incremental yardage. Long gets this back around midfield, and you'll see a little misdirection with his head. He looks to the opposite corner of the end zone and then throws that scuba back across his body to the near corner. Aziz Adeyemi playing free safety there. You got to think that Long's misdirection helped open up that window just long enough for him to drop the scuba in.
Second time Long has hit Searles' bows. We had the huck and then the scuba. North Carolina back within 2. Dark side taking care of business in Pool A, winning over Ohio State, Cal Berkeley, Georgia, and Minnesota Grey Duck. Beating Wisconsin in quarters and Cal Poly in semis. North Carolina trying to be the first #1 seed in the men's division to take the title since Jimmy Mickles' 2014 Colorado Mama Bird squad. Carleton was the #1 seed last year. Dark side was #2. Pittsburgh upsetting Carleton in the semis a year ago. Hammer cross field, right on target. Alex Liu back to Rushmeyer Bailey. And just throwing it to space, that's what you call throwing him open. Randolph Randolph with a good instinct to know where Solomon Ruchmeyer-Bailey was going with it.
Brings it in for the BMO score.
And tack on another to John Randolph's stat sheet.
52.
How about this hammer to get things started? Mac Hecht keeping it just low enough. We've seen so many downwind shots this weekend. Even upside down throws carry a little bit too far on this showcase field, but he pins that down just enough. And then in the red zone, at that front of the stack area, you could tell that Gusho Hannes, the defender on John Randolph, felt the pressure. He knew that Randolph was a threat both to the Fore side and the break side, and just not able to protect that Fore side space when his team needed him to on that point.
Ian, we're 7 points in. There have been just 7 turnovers in the game. Brown has 2 of them. UNC has 5 of them. The score 5-2 in Brown's favor. Lou made the catch on that tough hammer. North Carolina back out there on offense. Searles Bowes wide open. Now Randolph sets the mark. And it drops. Stone cold in the middle of the field, Thomas Williams. Brown, a chance for another upwind break.
We saw this all day yesterday in the semifinal. Ned Dick, John Randolph, Villeneuve's in the mix now, but pick your third receiver handler hybrid. More than comfortable to just work it in that 3-man weave.
Villeneuve into the ground. Right on the goal line where championships this weekend are won. That upwind end zone.
Marcus coming over.
Marcus to Searles Bowes underneath. He rips it. Alex Davis going long near the sideline. Davis unable to keep it alive.
Basically a same third shot down that right-handed thrower backhand sideline. And there was just a little too much inside out on that release. You know, I know these guys are experienced throwers, but those same third shots always just increase your exposure to risk.
Goodness! That's a Callahan! John McDonald stole the short flip. A potential turning point for North Carolina dark side. A championship game Callahan for John McDonald.
Well, we've seen Ned Dick throw that reset dozens of times before. And great anticipation there by McDonald. Not just, you know, you would have been content to see him just swat that pass down, but he read it so well, and you might say Ned Dick telegraphed it so well that McDonald was able to make the grab.
The Callahan reception, along with the Callahan Award, named after Henry Callahan, who is the founder of the University of Oregon program. Henry Callahan was described by one of his Eugene Oregon teammates as, quote, a positive, inspiring force. Had a great infectious energy, always trying to promote and better the sport. When I heard that description for Callahan, positive, inspiring force, frankly, I thought that describes Matt Goucho-Hannes' impact at UNC. Exactly.
He's been a next level leader both on and off the field, not only for Darkside, but throughout that entire community, giving back to the greater community by coaching youth programs. He's helped his own college program by almost functioning as a coach at times. He's so selfless as a leader and a very deserving recipient of this year's award.
Let's see how Brown responds to the Callahan. Over the top, and Roedner knocks it away. Heck getting a little greedy, Ian, on the throw intended for Tarunio.
Well, he's now 1 for 2 on those deep downwind hammer shots, and I'd suspect if he winds up for one of those again, he'll do another calculation before he releases.
From the corner of the end zone. Yeah, we're going 70 yards. Now it's about an 80-yard trip after the 10-yard dump. Seth Lee just flinging it upfield, and somehow it finds a UNC teammate, Ryan Humphrey. Goucho-Hannes sending Humphrey. This is going to be a jump ball. The large pack settles underneath, and it's tipped and hung on to. The intended target, Humphrey, made the catch. But of course, in this situation, not too surprised to see a call.
Looks like we do have a foul call.
Well, there's the first prayer to Humphrey. And Goucho-Hannes just ripping that upwind backhand. Enough time for 6 receivers and defenders to congregate in the area.
Yes, White. Okay. No foul. Okay.
We're not in.
Here on the goal line, not in.
By the observer. Possession will stay with Darkside. Ryan Humphrey with the disc.
Humphrey will have the disc on the edge of the goal line.
Let's go! Let's go, Casey! Let's go, Alex Blue! Let's go! Go, White, clear out wide!
North Carolina has not scored in this end zone yet.
Ryan, to me! Ryan!
Humphrey put it out there, too far. Randolph with a block.
How many times have we seen that this weekend? Downwind, high release backhand from Mac Hecht.
And up the line, he explodes into the red zone. Centers it for Rushmeyer Bailey.
They got a system by the goal line. All right. Keep going. Let's go, B-move.
He needs a reset. Hecht. Randolph surrounded, so Hecht goes over the traffic. What a throw. Benji Tarunio's got the goal. Hecht needing to broaden his game against the dark side D. Brown up 6-3. The 2-seed Brown leading the 1-seed North Carolina 6-3. And we've talked so much about John Randolph's offense, but he's pretty good at defense too.
He wasn't even guarding Matt Gucho-Hannes when that break throw to the front of the stack went up. He peeled off his assignment to help earn the poach block.
And then Hecht to Taruno to cap off the point. Missed opportunity for North Carolina. There's an eerie similarity to what we saw with UC San Diego in the first half. Missing opportunities at that Upwind end zone. Now they were able to win it on the most important point of the game, Universe Point. I'm not sure Brown's going to give Darkside as many chances as Dartmouth gave the Psychos. Searles Bowes was going deep. Davis was coming under, but the throw was behind him. Brown has another chance to go up by 4 here. Looking for Villeneuve. He explodes on the bid to keep it alive.
Yeah, to get back to that thought, Evan, Dartmouth's offense.
Ned Dick having a tough first half for Brown. He's really the only one. That's another turnover.
Dartmouth's offense much more predicated on that deep ball, some of those riskier long shots, not nearly as precise.
Speaking of riskier long shots, Searles Bowes is going to run out of room. North Carolina is not connecting like they were yesterday in the quarters and the semis. Their offense was unbroken in those 2 games until the very, very end of the second half against Cal Poly. Slocor got 1, but that was it.
And you've seen Darkside struggle with some of these downwind deep shots. The wind in yesterday's semifinal just was not as severe.
Villeneuve with a good throw into the wind, finding Michael Chen, and Dick says he was fouled.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to come in on 1. Yeah, that was all. I just bounced off into you.
Mitch Dengler, the head observer, putting everybody in the right spot. Brown will keep the disc. Villeneuve up the line, converts. Redemption for Dick. 7-3, Brownie in motion leads.
You're not going to be surprised to hear me say that I didn't see this coming. The Darkside offense that's been so prolific this season, this tournament, especially in the wind, running into the most disciplined D-line offensive unit that they've faced to date.
2 goals, 1 assist for Ned Dick. Villeneuve picks up the assist as we go down to the sidelines and check in with Megan.
Thanks, Evan. Maybe it's a small thing, but Brown has been incredibly regimented about rushing to the shade after a point. So the line that was just on then sits in the shade during the next point, coming out when they feel ready. But as it stands right now, Brown has spent so many more minutes in the shade than North Carolina, and that's been the goal all along, as we heard from John Randolph during his post-game interview yesterday. So maybe those micro rests have added up, helping Brown feel just a little more refreshed today.
Last time these 2 teams met in Easterns, Brown jumped out to a 3-0 lead before North Carolina had 2 completions. That's how big of a buzzsaw Brown was early in that game. Brownie in motion took half on a Dylan Villeneuve layout Callahan that made it 8-4. UNC did inch back in the second half, got within 11-9, but Brown pulled away late and won 15-10. That was just one of 2 North Carolina losses all year. And you think back, North Carolina only lost twice all of last year. Quarters at Easterns, and then a meaningless pool play game at Nationals.
The traditional game that the Dark Side program always loses. And back in 2015, that loss to Oregon facilitated the crazy scenario that we saw where 3 teams from the same pool, North Carolina Dark Side, Florida State Duff, and Oregon Ego, were all in the semifinals.
Yep, UNC beat Oregon in the final that year, 2015. How about a shout out to the University of North Carolina Ultimate Program? There were 12 different schools this year, Ian, that sent both their men's and women's team to nationals. UNC, the only school where both men's and women's teams made it to the semis. Wisconsin's the only other school where both teams advanced to the quarters.
Yeah, we saw a lot more collaboration between the coaching staffs of these programs over the course of this season. Mike DeNardis and Dave Allison advising Jesse Jones and Lindsay Sue. Jones, who had done so much to build up the Pleiades program over the preceding seasons.
Yeah, they've done a great job of kind of fostering a North Carolina Ultimate family. And goodness, the Brown Ultimate family's got some history to it as well. A ton of Brown alums, former champions, former Callahan winners like Justin Safdie and Josh Zipperstein here in Texas to support the new iteration of Brown Ultimate. Brown University champions in 2000. There's the Brown alumni base, the cheering section. Callahan winner Josh Zipperstein in the front. Brown beat Carleton 15-10 in 2000, and then in a classic finish, beat Josh Ackley and Bo Kittredge, Colorado Mama Bird in 2005. You know, then Colorado was the defending champs. So Brown has a history of beating the defending champs in the finals. Ned Dick flips it past Davis to Hecht. Can you believe that Brown just took half on UNC 8-3?
Mac Hecht, arguably the MVP of this game so far. So instrumental in Brown's downwind goals. He's been dealing over the top, around the red zone, and here he maybe gets just a tiny bit of luck with that disc catching a gust of wind and going past Alex Davis's fingertips to bring in the halftime clinching goal.
We remember, no matter what else is going on, you are at the mercy of Mother Nature and the 175-gram piece of plastic that we play with. Brown leads 8-3 at the half. I imagine the Brown coach is pretty pleased standing by with Megan.
Thanks so much, Evan. Sam, what are you seeing from your team that has led to this kind of gap in this score?
We're clearly super fired up. I've been talking about all tournament. Our legs are one of our greatest strengths. So defensively, we're playing really, really tight, physical D, and just using our athleticism to work the disc, both upwind and downwind. And offensively, they're trying to throw zones to slow us down, but we play against zones so much, we're not having too much trouble with it.
As we expected, Hecht and Randolph are having a great game, but Rushmeyer Bailey is also doing great. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to have a player like him on the team.
He's definitely one of the unsung heroes of Brownie in Motion. He is by far one of the hardest workers I've ever coached. He's not a flashy player, but he's nearly perfect on every cut and every throw that he makes. And at the end of the day, he usually just wants it more than his matchup.
And are you seeing anything you hope to change in the second half?
We're going to stick to our guns. I'm pretty happy with where we are right now.
All right, well, best of luck to you in the second half. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Back to you, Evan.
Brownie in motion bookended that half with 3-0 runs. Jumping up 3-zip, closing the half on a 3-0 run. It's 8-3 at the break. After a stunning finish to the women's final earlier today, we've got potentially another stunner brewing, Ian, with Brown leading the defending champion North Carolina Darkside squad 8-3 at the half. It's been amazing what Brown's done so far. Darkside just came out shaky and Brown's capitalized.
To be honest with you, it looks like North Carolina is the less experienced team, even though this program, so many players on this team have been a part of the last 6 semifinal appearances and the national championships. It's hard to explain why North Carolina is having such difficulty, but downwind, they're having difficulty in the wind. 2
goals for Searles Bowes. Try saying that 5 times fast. Also the Callahan from McDonald. That's it for the scoring for Darkside.
Yeah, Mac Hecht and John Randolph have been dominating on the opposing side of the disc for Brownie in motion. It's been a nice combination of downwind finesse and upwind discipline and power. Breaking the mark frequently with those high release backhands as we see a step around flick from Reuschemeyer Bailey. And Mac Hecht has been finding whatever he wants all over the field. A bevy of release points. He's been developing those throws for several years. And everything's just coming out on display here in the national title game.
And you know, at the start of Mac's career, Brown was not a threat to make nationals. They have built this program from being a mid-tier regionals team to being on the brink of a title. Up the line for Ned Dick. That made it 7-3, and then Dick to Hecht to take it to half. UNC has a big uphill climb ahead. Can they find that championship medal? If not, Brown will be the champs. Stay with us. North Carolina, the defending champions, trailing 8-3. What's the Carolina game plan? We go down to Megan Tormey to get some insight.
Thanks, Evan. Joined by Coach Jonathan Nethercutt. What are you seeing from your team?
I mean, it's windy. I think we all know that. So I think a lot of things have been small miscues. I mean, we had some unfortunate drops in the first half and just a couple throws behind people. You know, I think a lot of us are still getting maybe adjusted to the wind and trying to play our cleanest game. I mean, credit to Brown. They're doing a good job of mucking us up, and you know, they're playing the same game they've played all tournament and all year, and they're good at it. You know, they're powering through with their stars, who are good throwers in the wind. So I think the biggest thing is we got to get adjusted to the conditions a little better.
And what are some strategic things you can do that, or is that a conversation you had to have with your team during halftime?
You know, it's a bit of both. You know, it's always a strategic thing of trying to figure out, you know, which throws and which angles of throws are the hardest to execute in the wind, and trying to encourage teams and funnel teams toward those options. And also, a little bit of it's just a conversation with our players. You know, focus a little bit more. Also, recognize it as a win and change what you're doing offensively as an individual and structurally as a team, group of individuals, to try to adapt to giving better options and easier to hit windows.
And lastly, your team had a really positive moment during halftime that I want you to highlight in case this is the thing that turns things around for UNC. What did the team just discover?
We found our disc bag. We lost our disc bag before quarters, before we played Wisco, and have not been able to find it until, so I don't know who dropped it off, I don't know where it came from, but they just celebrated it because we got it back about 2 minutes ago. So we have our discs, which maybe that's our reason for the struggles in the wind, but yeah, we're back in business. We have our full team and full equipment here now, which is nice.
Okay, we won't be able to discern whether it's the words of encouragement or the bag of discs that showed up, but either way, best of luck in the second half.
Thanks, Megan.
Thanks for your time. Back to you, Evan.
It's like when Tom Hanks lost Wilson the volleyball. He wasn't himself. Can North Carolina come back? Find out next. Quick look at the first half scoring summary. Randolph, Hecht leading Brown. Searles, Bose, and Long, the leaders for UNC. Ned Dick scored 2 goals and threw 3 goals. 2 to his own team and 1 to John McDonald. North Carolina only with 2 assists because McDonald caught the Callahan. Since that Callahan, a 3-0 run. Toruño, Dick, and Hecht all scoring for Brown. Let's see what Dark Side can do. Trailing by 5, going downwind.
An intentional out-of-bounds roller pull to start things here for the Brown defense, hoping to give themselves an opportunity to set that zone defense on the flick sideline.
Elijah Long from Liam Searles Bose as North Carolina quickly tic-tac-toes its way down the field.
Well, credit to Sam Lehman and Jake Smart. They got to mix things up, give every look a try, but not every look works. As the Dark Side offense, that's about as comfortable as they've looked all game going downwind, Evan.
You know, my sense is that both teams have been struggling to pull upwind, so why not roll it out of bounds and force them to start from the sideline? Because you're not going to be able to throw it much further than you can roll it anyway.
Get a look there. We saw Matt Gusho-Hannes in the frame. Maybe not as impactful a first half from him as we might have expected. I know Randolph got the better of him on at least one of those goals. And he's going to have to be out there quite a bit here in this second half to anchor Dark Side's comeback efforts.
20 seconds, 20.
North Carolina basically needs to score upwind 3 times to win the game, assuming Brown doesn't score upwind again. 2 upwind goals and downwind corresponding scores would tie it up. And that's a Brown mistake. Intended for Randolph, but into the ground.
Turnover.
Errant throw from the Atlanta native Henry Lassiter. And a quick shot. And Matthews unable to make the catch.
You saw how quickly Brown got into a transition zone after the turnover with its O-line personnel.
Brown living dangerously.
Lots of Dark Side defenders just downfield completely poaching off a few throws ago, trying to shut down that backhand sideline.
Wide open, an easy score. Another for Toruño.
Benji Toruño brings it in for the B-hole score. That's round 9, UNC 4.
Well, surprise, surprise. Once Brown gets the disc back, lots of touches for Hecht and Randolph, and then as Megan and Lehman pointed out, Roy Schmeier-Bailey, the unsung hero for this Brown squad, completing that goal with a nice shot down the break side into the end zone.
Brown creating further separation, making it more unlikely that we'll see history today. Do you know that there's never been a year where both the women's final and the men's final at college nationals went to Universe Point? We've seen it a bunch at club nationals, but never before at college. In fact, in the men's division, there's only one Universe Point final ever, and that was Brown's remarkable win over Colorado in 2005. Ed Dick launches, pretty good pull into that wind, cross midfield. Marcus initiates. Davis leaping, couldn't get there, but Searles Bowes cleans up the trash and then sends it to Davis, who's got the clean clap catch for the score.
Well, I think Kai Marcus was trying to lead Liam Searles Bowes with that shot, but he knew he had to put just a little touch on that. I could be mistaken, but we saw the Searles Bowes cut developing for quite a long time, and there was a moment when Marcus had his focus fixated on him, and you see LSB coming into the frame there. Still, not nearly as much comfort going downwind as we've seen Brown have moving downwind. And that's you know, surprising, because when we've talked about the wind being a factor so far this weekend, we've talked about the upwind conditions presenting such a great challenge, limiting hucking ability, limiting basic underneath completion ability. And there's been just as much shakiness from Darkside when their offense has had to try and work downwind. There have been 1 or 2 clean points, but looking back at some of these turnovers, that's where they're struggling.
Can they win against a great opponent like Brown without playing their best? All Brownie in motion has to do is keep scoring downwind like they've done quite easily. Smooth offense so far this point. Lou to Lassiter. Rushmeyer Bailey now. Marked by McDonald. Hecht to Randolph.
You see Gooch peeling off, leaving his assignment entirely, trying to muck up that front of the stack space, and now the switch is complete.
Ruled not in the end zone. He caught it, then leapt in.
No route! No route!
And there's a call.
Benji, middle. Hey, Saul John Mack! Saul John Mack is just grabbing you, call it! Hey, watch the poach, watch the poach! It's down to your right, Dirk.
Coming in on 4? You said 4? Okay, so coming in on 4 still. Yeah, coming in on 4. Coming in on 4!
Rushmeyer Bailey gets the reset to Hecht. Floating it, and there's contact, and it's caught anyway. Dylan Villeneuve hangs on through the collision with Rovner. Brown University closing in on a title. Brown up 10-5. It was Jack Facey rather than Dylan Villeneuve who makes this tough catch through traffic, Ian.
In the red zone, all we've seen, Brown looking to get that disc over to the break side. Such concentration required. He almost pins this up against his head for a split second.
Any way you can, hang on to the plastic. The 175-gram Discraft Ultra Star, the most precious commodity. That's an excellent pull into the wind, stays in bounds, still doesn't get much beyond midfield. Marcus launches a hammer, and it's way out the back.
Turnover on the deep look.
Tough because the trajectory of that disc, it's not coming in at an angle back into the receiver's path. It's trailing further and further away out of the path. Would have required just hitting Searles Bose or the other receiver right on the money.
That's a bizarre decision from a UNC team that is so talented but prides itself on its discipline. One note for UNC, Liam Searles Bose has not left the field for any point this half. In the first half, no one played more than 7 of the 11 points.
Dark side O-line defense perfectly content to throw its zone look here. And I'm sure Brown's happy to just eat more clock.
Making the catch through the traffic was Villeneuve. Rushmeyer-Bailey. Another tough catch by Villeneuve. Up the line. Thought that hit the ground, it did.
Great effort by Adeyemi. I don't think he was the intended receiver on that shot up the line.
Marcus sending it deep again. Searles Bose. He's got this one. Kai Marcus, 1 for 2 on the point. No one else on Carolina threw it that point.
You know, sometimes I wonder, over the course of our last few broadcasts, dating back a couple years, talking about Kai Marcus's reputation as a thrower and impact, sometimes I wonder if we've been perhaps too harsh on him, but you're seeing everything you get from Kai Marcus in this 1 point. To start things off, a crazy head-scratching decision, and the execution just wasn't there. To finish it off, a visionary inside-out backhand shot downwind, reading that downwind scenario better than other Carolina Huckers have earlier in this game.
Before Nationals, I asked Matt Gusho-Hannes, the Callahan winner, about Kai Marcus and his evolution as a player. And Gooch says that Kai comes from a background similar to a lot of other young high school players, where he was the best player, the best thrower on his high school team, dominated touches, threw assists and hucks constantly. And then he joined a team of players that were similarly talented. It took him a little while to adjust to being a part of that team system. But this year he's done a really good job, Gooch says, learning his teammates' strength and playing as a member of the unit with a throwing ability that makes him special. 15 minutes until soft cat, the men's final. Here we go. It's Hecht going long. Can he read it? It's out the back. It feels like both teams going in this direction just want to huck and play deep. They don't want to risk turning it over close to the upwind end zone.
And that's a smart strategic decision. And this possession here, I mean, 4-goal margin, 14 minutes from the soft cap. We're getting into must-score territory.
I think that's a great point. Especially considering North Carolina hasn't shown us they can score upwind yet.
That's a critical throw there. Searles Bose getting the disc off that trap sideline and back into the middle as we see the brown mark start to flatten out.
Alex Liu with the rejection. Eerily similar to John McDonald's Callahan on Ned Dick from the first half. Solomon Rushmeyer-Bailey. Randolph, he's in the end zone again.
I mean, how much easier can it get after that turnover? You had two defenders at the front of the stack. One trying to stop Randolph from going to the Fore side, another to the break side, and he just runs right up the gut in that shallow space to Walker Matthews' inside shoulder, and he's not contested one bit. John Randolph is a great receiver. He's so explosive in that space at the front of the end zone, but Carolina's just got to muster some better defensive pressure there. And it looks like Brown has taken a timeout here, just over 12.5 minutes away from the soft cap.
4 assists for Solomon Rushmeyer-Bailey. You know, this Brown team, every year in January, they come back to school a week before school starts. And John Randolph told me last week that that's a time where the team comes together emotionally and bonds. An early training week that always culminates by watching a scary horror movie called The Babadook. Now, I'm not going to read you the description, but suffice to say, it's a pretty terrifying description of a movie. But John Randolph said that watching the horror movie brings them closer together as a team. He said, I think it's a psychological phenomenon. When you're under stress or hardship, you come together. They're 4 goals away from a title.
I don't know if I'd be able to make it through that. I'm not a horror movie guy.
Neither am I. 11-6, Brown leads North Carolina. Coming up this July, another edition of the U24 World Championships. The site will be Heidelberg, Germany. Hecht and Randolph on the team. Elijah Long, Walker Matthews on the men's team. And Gusho Hannes and Searles Bose bringing the hyphenated power to the mixed team. I like USA's chances in Germany this July.
They're going to have a really tough test from the Italian men, among others, who pushed the American men to the brink back in January of 2018.
Yeah, I was in Australia. It's hard to believe, Ian, that North Carolina is not going to make some type of a run. The caliber of team that this is. Winning 2 of the last 4 national titles, in the semis for the 6th consecutive year, which I would argue it's right up there with the 9 straight semifinals for Boston Ironside in the club division. Because in the club division, continuity is much easier to maintain than it is in college. Mac Hecht doing it all for Brownie in motion. Got a special skip to his step.
Getting in on the defensive act. And we're starting to talk about what Brown's legacy could look like as we see another hammer.
Denied by Brown's Talon Johnson.
Well, no surprise to see the defensive set here from Brown, still sticking with this zone.
Over the top of the traffic, tough catch, and he's ruled out of bounds. That was very close, but Mitch Dengler, as good as it gets in the observer industry, was right there. Take a look. When did he establish contact or possession?
There's no doubt that the left toe touched the back line, but was there possession when the right foot was down?
Brown turns it on the first throw, so there's a little bit of a just don't lie situation here, it feels like. There's a foul. Kai Marcus may have just thrown that through his defender's legs.
I think we're going to stay right here. Okay, you want to send it back over? Okay, exactly what he said. No
Goodness.
problem. He slid over.
Hey,
Slid
when
over.
you're not
On
getting
it.
disc space, you just got to improvise.
All right.
Kai
Ron, are you
Marcus
ready?
is good at that as anybody.
Yeah, staying here.
It's pretty cool. This championship game has included a Callahan, almost a greatest.
All right, we touch to the ground.
Kai Marcus just threw it through a guy's legs, and the throw stands. And one throw later, honors Youngstown's Alex Davis to make it 11-7.
Nothing's coming easy for Carolina here.
To be honest, the question I have is not whether North Carolina will make a run. It's how will Brown handle the inevitable dark side run. That'll determine whether Brownie in motion can take the title.
I haven't seen any discomfort from Brown working downwind, and that's the advantage that they're going to have to start this goal. And they'll have that advantage the rest of the game unless they get broken in that scenario. And I don't have the confidence to say that, yeah, Brown's gonna screw this one up going downwind.
North Carolina tightening up its lines. They've got a lot of great players. I mean, basically their normal D-line is especially strong. Lucio Hannes, Matthews, Rovner, Searles Lowe stays out there. Mataraju, McDonald, and Elijah Long. Deep shot, looking for Hecht. Searles Bowe's coming behind him. Hecht almost had the disc land on his back. I think I just would have thrown down the headset and walked away if he had caught that on his back while lying flat on his chest.
That's very nice of you. I'm sure Megan and I would have figured out a way to carry on.
Just call the game if he makes a catch like that.
Well, that would have been the nail in the coffin, the most demoralizing thing Darkside could have experienced at this stage of the game.
Hammer into traffic, spiked down by Brown. Carunio with a block.
That's a wheels falling off kind of decision.
And Brown capitalizes very quickly. Ian, North Carolina's running out of time. Brown now 3 points away from a third national title. Brown leading North Carolina 12-7. You know, before the semis yesterday, I chatted with Sam Lehman and Jake Smart, the Brown coaches, and they both said, we've played well this week, but we have one more gear we can hit. And they said, we're excited to hit that gear. In the second half against Colorado yesterday and carrying it over into the finals today, Brown has hit their top gear.
They've been on another level so far today, handling all kinds of adverse conditions far better than Carolina has. We mentioned this earlier. They simply look like the more experienced team, even though so many of these dark side players have been in these championship settings more frequently.
And it's been a true team effort. Hecht and Randolph have been great, but Ruschmeyer, Bailey, and Dick and Toruño, Alex Liu, Dylan Villeneuve, Griffin Kao, Aziz Adeyemi out there on defense here. It has been a full team effort for Brownie in motion. There's 1 minute left until the soft cap, and I think there's a minute left in the hydration timeout. So before they pull, the soft cap is going to expire, which means after this next point, we'll add 2 to the higher team's score. North Carolina punches this in downwind. It's going to be 12-8, and Brown's going to be 2 goals away. We'll play to 14.
1 minute, guys.
I don't know if we want to write the obituary on the Carolina dark side season and title hopes just yet. When we were talking to Dave Allison before the tournament, obviously dark side came up short at College Easterns. And we asked him what the team did to refocus itself, and there was an allegory that he used to help the team through the pressure and feeling that pressure to defend and win every tournament they play in. When you're hiking a mountain, you can't stare at the mountaintop the whole way up. If you do that, you're going to trip over the little rocks and sticks on the way. You need to look at the trail. And it feels like Darkside has lost sight of that trail in this game.
Don't want to get fooled by a false peak along the way. Immediate hammer into the ground from Kai Marcus.
Darkside turnover on the deep look.
Not too often that Ian is speechless, but he's just kind of baffled, shaking his head by what he just saw.
That's a stick in the path, if you ask me, that Kai just tripped over.
Well, UNC gets it right back. Dick's hammer sails over the target. Searles bows the interception. Williams to Jungst. Marcus stumbles, marked by Kao. Tried to squeeze it through to Long. There was a poaching block of Villeneuve, and there's no foul call. Villeneuve just rips it. He's got Adeyemi with Searles Bowes jockeying for position as well. Liam comes up with the deflection. And he rips it long, but there's a stoppage, and this is coming back despite Gushohannes making the grab. This one's coming back to Searles Bowes. Adeyemi, the injured Brown player.
So if there was contact between Adeyemi and Searles Bowes there, as it looks like there was.
When you're ready.
Adeyemi can stay out on the field.
Yep.
But if he had called an injury with no contact whatsoever, he would have had to remove himself from play.
Aziz Adeyemi from the Bronx. As we see a deep shot upside down to Gushohannes. He was on the line when he made the catch. Jungst back to Gooch. 12-8, game to 14. Well, if you're waiting to check off the 50-yard hammer from your Nationals bingo card, there you go.
From Darkside, of course, Hecht would beg to claim that he'd already knocked that off earlier in this game.
North Carolina needs to score Upwind, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And it is a little surprising to see the Callahan winner with just 1 goal out of the first 20.
Yeah, he's predominantly been playing with the D-line, but also crossing over. And if his impact has been that limited, it's a strong indicator of the performance from Brown, not giving Gucho-Hannes looks at the disc, and great work by folks like Randolph to get the better of that matchup throughout this game.
Into the hands of Hecht. He throws the long hammer and delivers it on the money. Facey to Ruschmeyer-Bailey. This Brown end zone offense has been so smart, so patient, and so crafty. Mac Hecht with the scuba to bring Brown within 1 score of the title.
I don't know how you stop Mac Hecht in the red zone.
Or at midfield.
You try and stop his high release backhand, he throws a scuba over you. You try and push him out and he becomes a receiving threat. And this is what got them to this point. A huge downwind cross-field hammer. Mac showing why he was voted as one of the most valuable players in the college division this season.
When your hammers and scubers are as on target as Hecht's have been, it's like Steph Curry or Damian Lillard pulling up from 30, 33 feet. There's only so much, if anything, that a defense can do.
We haven't really seen a heat check from Mac yet either.
Seen a couple hammers that went awry, but other than that, in the red zone in particular, everything has been basically flawless. And now UNC has to score downwind to start a 6-0 run, or Brown's going to be the champ. And Marcus stays with the same strategy and again throws it out the back. Maybe UNC really wants to be the first team ever to get 2 Callahans in a final.
Net going back to pick up for BMO.
Hunting it and playing defense.
Cap. Let's go.
Brown with possession and an opportunity to win. Dick, Villeneuve, KO, Adeyemi.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And Dick launches. If this stays in bounds, Brown's going to have a chance to make the play. And it's caught by Michael Chen. Back to Villeneuve, to the end zone. Brown University, 1 more throw away. And a foul called. It was snagged by KO with his foot on the line.
I think you were running into me and I was holding my face. And I was running right. You guys are gonna disagree, so let's just move on.
Okay, so do the play up. Okay, so it's gonna be a contest.
Okay.
It's gonna be a contest. What was the count?
Bingo.
We have a 6 to foul.
Okay, I said 5.
Bingo.
Coming on 5. Coming on 5. Shift. 3, 2, 1. Going 5. 6, 7.
KO.
9, 10. Stall.
Stall called. Disc hanging in the air. It's caught by Brown. If the stall is overturned, Brown will have won. The observer overturns the stall, and that is how Brown University wins the national championship. An unlikely duo to close it out, and an improbable way for this game to finish. Here's the throw that set up the winner. Davis flying by, Junks flying by, KO making the catch. And then after the stoppage, they ruled no stalls. Searles Bowes unable to catch the block. And the game-winning grab from Brian Chen. Brian Chen, 21-year-old junior from Sharon, Massachusetts.
You know a thing or two about Sharon, Evan.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't go anywhere. We'll award the first and second place awards in just a minute. In the meantime, we would like to take a minute to thank the Texas Ultimate community.
Wow.
And all of the amazing
Brown University had more names to the Brownie in Motion Hall of Fame with Fortunat and Safety and Zip. Mac Heck, John Randolph, put it on the board.
Please take a moment to say thank you. Events like these just don't happen without the hard work of many, many volunteers.
The 2019 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and apparel since 2007. Visit Spin on the web at spinultimate.com. By Discraft, now featuring a newly updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Discraft, home of the UltraStar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Visit discraft.com. For the 5th straight season, the #1 seed fails to win the championship in the men's division at College Nationals, and this time it was Brown University. Back in the winner's circle for the first time in 14 years, denying North Carolina the repeat. A clinical performance from Brown ended in a fairly fluky fashion, but that should not overshadow what we saw Brown execute from the very start of this game. They jumped out 3-0. They took half 8-3. They led wire to wire. Let's send it down to Megan Tormey with the victorious head coaches.
Thanks, Evan. I'm surrounded by Sam Lehman and Jake Smart, and they can't stop laughing. I have to know, what are you feeling? What are you thinking right now?
I mean, this is just amazing. I've been with this program for a while now, and when I started playing, it was just a dream to make it to nationals. Did that last year. This year was all about winning the championship, and I'm just thinking of all the hard work that we put in as a team, as a program this season, and how special it felt happening, and for it to culminate this way, it's not going to get better than this.
Jake, when you woke up this morning, how confident were you that this was going to be the outcome?
I'd say, I don't say 100%, but like 99% confident. I woke up beaming, smiling in the hotel, and yeah, we felt inevitable.
You both said that this team had an extra gear going into this tournament, and it's evident that you guys hit that extra gear. What do you think were the pieces that fell into place at this tournament that enabled you to put on the performance that we saw both yesterday and today?
Yeah. So a few things. One was the heat training. That helped a lot. It was hot this weekend. We took care of our bodies, and I saw a lot of teams out in the sun. They ran out of gas at the end of games. The second is we did film like crazy all season long, and that allowed us, when we got the film quickly during the tournament, to quickly adapt to that, because our guys had already had those gears turning to learn from film.
Obviously, you had more time to prepare for those pool play games, but what was going through your mind last night as you prepared the game plan for today?
Watching every single Dark Side game we could get a hold of, watch the Cal Poly game live and after the fact on replay, and just making sure our guys were in the right spot mentally. You know, we knew they were going to study a lot, we knew they were going to know the sets well, and then we just wanted them to believe. And as Jake said, our heat training really helped us a ton to be able to have that belief that we were going to be able to finish this game no matter what the score was at halftime.
Who were some of the voices in the huddle going into today's game?
I want to shout out Ned Dick. He's been with this program for as long as he could, 5 years. He really stepped into a huge leadership role this year, leading the D-line, and then on the flip side of the coin, Mac really took control of the O-line. He had a pretty incredible performance today and exhibited the leadership skills that he's had for a long time.
Who are some of the other players that you saw putting their heart out there today that you think, wow, I didn't know that they were going to do that this weekend, and I'm so thankful they did?
Yeah. Mike Chen, guy graduating this year, missed his graduation to come to this tournament, and he played like he wasn't afraid to die. Who else? Chops, Ben Atal in our cup, was playing phenomenal all weekend long. He was focused, he was ready to work, and we kind of thrust him into that spot kind of in the middle of the season, and he adapted to it well. And then John Facey, Jack, played out of his mind in this final and was executing at a level I'm stunned. I'm stunned.
I have one last question that I want to pitch to both of you. At the end of a college season, you always have to say goodbye. Is it harder or easier to say goodbye to this team, given that you took it as far as you could?
I think it's just as hard. It's just as hard. We can walk away proud and thrilled, but it's such a loss of these guys, and it's devastating that the team's over, and I am glad that it ended the right way.
Sam, same question to you.
Yeah, I knew I was going to be crying either way, and it was going to be hard either way, but going out with the win, the tears are going to be a little bit more joyful, which is going to be making it just a little bit easier to swallow that this team's over now.
Well, it was a beautiful performance. You have so much to be proud of. Go be with your team, and thank you both for your time, and congratulations again. Evan, back to you.
The power of sports, especially our sport. Tears, win or lose. And the last point of the game is our Discraft play of the game. There was a stall call, it was overturned, and Griffin Keogh's floaty throw hauled in by Brian Sheehan, who catches the game clincher to win a national title.
It wasn't pretty, but it was indicative of what Brown could do and Darkside couldn't do in that game. Score Upwind.
North Carolina, 6 straight semifinals. They've won 2 titles. They'll certainly be back. But Brown with a really impressive performance. I mean, look at the run through the bracket. A 5-point win in quarters over Ohio State. Taking care of Colorado after falling behind 4-2. And then leading North Carolina wire to wire. We've got a bunch of interviews lined up for you. First, Megan and Mac.
Thanks so much, Evan. Mac, my first question to you is, where did you learn to throw?
My parents and my sisters. I've been throwing at this field near my house since I was basically 2 years old. Both my parents played back in college and then a lot of club themselves. So we had Frisbees sort of lying around the house the whole time. And yeah, my sister is always willing to go out and throw with me. My parents, especially my dad, always telling me to throw hammers, all that sort of stuff. They're awesome. And my mom has this nasty inside-out flick release, so I've been learning a lot from them.
When you arrived at the tournament and realized how windy the conditions were going to be, what exactly was going through your mind knowing you would have a slight advantage?
Thank you. We knew that we had a couple excellent throwers, and overall we have, I think, one of the best wind throwing teams in the country, and so we definitely were excited about that. We also were concerned about the heat. We've been training with layers, and we were excited about the wind sort of cooling off people as well. So that was something we thought about as well. But overall, excited about the fact that we as a team are generally one of the best throwing teams in the wind.
Yesterday in particular, you and John Randolph had an unstoppable connection. What do you see from him that makes him such a perfect target?
I mean, he's just an incredible athlete. So I think he and I have been having a great time sort of getting on the same page, and I just sort of wait for that jab step, and off he goes, and I try to throw it in his lap, and it's working pretty well.
You guys looked very comfortable against UNC very early in this game. What do you attribute that to?
All season, we've been practicing against their sets. We specifically detailed practice plans so that we'd be sort of prepared for a game like this. We saw sort of the fruits of that starting at Easterns when we played them in the finals, and we knew that we sort of had their number coming into this one. So overall, sort of all year, knowing that they were the top dog and that we'd have to go through them to get the title.
Lastly, processing everything, realizing that all that hard work has resulted in you winning college championship. How are you feeling, and what does this mean to you?
It's processing, like you said. It's so amazing to have my parents here. I don't know, everybody here, the alumni, and Tim, our guy from Brown. I don't know, I just so excited to share the moment with all those people, and gonna think about it and sit on my bed and sort of have a little moment to myself later on. But before that, so excited to celebrate.
Well, congratulations. You've certainly earned that moment. Thanks for your time. And back to you, Evan.
Great stuff, Megan. Mac Hecht. It made it pretty clear he wanted to win the Callahan. There was certainly some disappointment last night, but certainly no disappointment now celebrating a national title. And his #1 target was just a sophomore. He'll be back for more. John Randolph standing by with Megan.
John, you're so young and already have accomplished so much. Where to next? What's next for you?
Well, thanks. I don't know, just got to keep on doing the same things. Yeah, this will not be the last you see of this Brown team, I don't think. So.
All game long, it looked like you guys were just flowing. Did it feel like there was anything UNC could do to stop you?
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. Their zone worked pretty well. They did get a bunch of turns, and I think it just came down to grit and how fresh the teams were in the end.
Complacency can be a tricky thing during games like this. How were you and the team staying in it to keep up the performance you started this game with?
We were so excited all throughout this game, and I've been on teams that have been complacent and have let ourselves down and got upset in important tournaments. And this team, we have not been on this stage before, so I don't think there was a moment during that final where we felt complacent. We just kept going all the way through.
I know this is a long time for now, but how do you think you carry over this success into the development of next year?
It's tough, I think, because I think even if you don't acknowledge it, there may be some complacency during the next year if you feel like you're already the #1 team. That's something I'm going to leave to the coaches to do.
All right, well, congratulations again on your win. Thanks for your time.
Great, thank you.
Evan, back to you.
I have no doubt that John Randolph will be back again. North Carolina receiving a silver medal for the second time. They lost to Colorado in 2014. They did bounce back from that loss to win it in 2015. Won it again last year, but fall just short. They've been in the finals 4 times in the last 6 years. They went 2-2 in those games. North Carolina's a great team, but Brown was better today. Still absorbing the final result that not many saw coming. I think folks thought that Brown could win, but a 6-point gap over the #1 seeded North Carolina dark side, that was something else. Brown 14, North Carolina 8. Another Brownie in motion captain, Solomon Ruschmeyer-Bailey, standing by with our Megan Tormey.
Thanks so much, Evan. Solomon, going into this game, how nervous were you knowing you were playing against the #1 seed?
Honestly, not that nervous. I think I was more nervous for the semi yesterday against Colorado. I don't know. Last time we played these guys, we won 15-10. Not to say they're a bad team. They're an amazing team. But, you know, we've been working on our sets specifically for them. We knew they were a good team, and we were ready.
And how do you think that practice led into such a comfortable gap in the very beginning of the game?
Not sure. I mean, we had our downfield junk sets. We knew what offenses we wanted to run. I'm blanking, but yeah, I don't know. We worked hard. We make good decisions. Ultimate decision-making game.
When you woke up this morning, were you thinking, today I'm going to win the national championship?
Yeah, I was excited. I was ready. I knew what we were going to go out and do, you know, play our game. Make good decisions, score.
The fun thing I find about your team is that, you know, at any different game, different players will have a bigger impact. Talk about some of the teammates that you thought just, you were so proud of what they were doing on the field today.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because when you're playing defense, it's 7 guys on defense. So everyone matters. If one person's not trying hard or playing well, then, you know, it's a wrap. But Henry Lassiter played great. Michael Chen, one of our seniors, missed his graduation, came out here. All around effort. I mean, there's no one I can like say like they won us the game. It's all 22.
Going into the season as one of the captains, what were some of the goals that you set in place ahead of time to help continue to lead Brown to this moment?
Simple stuff. Team first. Work really hard. Got to make sacrifices, but you got to, you know, compete and support your team.
You're about to go over for the trophy ceremony and accept your trophy for winning the national championship. How exactly do you feel about that?
I'm very excited. I mean, I trusted it. We had phenomenal coaching. Lucky Theorem got us. And, you know, we're working hard. Tim Fanthavong has been supporting us a lot. I'm from Brown, the club sports director, and I'm very excited just to, you know, hang out with my teammates. My mom's here. Yeah.
All right, well, it's the moment that you waited for all season long. Congratulations. Go enjoy that moment. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
And back to you, Evan.
Solomon Ruschmeyer Bailey, all smiles. North Carolina doing some sprints on the field right now after receiving their medals. Alex Davis won the foot race. Meanwhile, Ruschmeyer Bailey joins his teammates, Hecht, Randolph, Adeyemi, and everyone, where they will get their gold medals.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your 2019 USA Ultimate College Champions in the men's division, Brown University Brownie in Motion.
It was nice to meet you too.
Former greats handing out the trophy: Jimmy Mickle, Trent Dillon, Jesse Schaffner, Gabe Hernandez, Carolyn Normile getting handshakes from USA Ultimate College Director Tom Manowitz. The champions in 2019 in Division III, Middlebury Pranksters over Air Force. In D3 men's, Oberlin Prang Manti over Bates. 13-7 in the women's. Division I, UC San Diego. The first Universe Point victory in a women's championship game since 1998, taking down the two-time defending champs Dartmouth, the Psychos from UC San Diego, and Brown University also dethroning the champs. There's a unique symmetry with the two championship games we saw today. The defending champion that had the Callahan winner did not have the best team on Memorial Day Monday when it counted most.
And I see another connection there with Jimmy Mickle in the frame, bestowing medals on the Brownie in Motion champions. Mickle was a part of that pony team. Some might have considered an underdog at the club championships this past fall, facing off against the Dynasty Revolver. You could almost align Revolver with North Carolina, the teams that had won it before. And Mac Hecht said that his program mimicked their tenets and their process and their preparation on Revolver's development. But you can also pin Brown to pony. And this epic upset that not many people saw coming. Great parallels between the men's club and college divisions.
Well, we congratulate Brown University, UC San Diego, and everyone here at College Nationals. What a weekend it has been. Round Rock, Texas, a tremendous hope, a tremendous host. Nationals in Texas for the first time since 2003. And honestly, a privilege and an honor to bring it to you on ESPN3 and ESPN U throughout the weekend. For Ian Toner and Megan Tormey, the best teammates I could ask for, and our entire crew, I'm Evan Lepler saying so long from the Lone Star State. UCSD in the women's division, Brown in the men's division, 2019 national champions.